So let's get started with our first design problem. So the problem statement is we need to design a system which can identify or predict infrastructure issues or network issues in the company. So as we can see that we have not got much details in the problem statement. It looks very generic, a very plain statement. So before you jump into solving this problem, it's very important to ask some questions or some clarifying questions from the interviewer. So some of the clarifying questions you can ask, because you need some more details on the problem statement before you can start solving it. So some of the clarifying questions you can ask from the interviewer, it's very important. Some of the questions could be, what are the components are there in infrastructure, such as server or websites or networks. Then second question you can ask, what are the different issues currently we are facing in the team? What are the business impacts of all those incidents or the issues we are facing in the infrastructure? That is also very important to understand, what is the business impact of these problems. You can also ask, like, how are we handling these issues currently and what is the success rate of it? Why are we failing, or what is the core problem of this issue? So ask some of the clarifying questions from the interviewer, because that will give you some direction, that will give you some details, and then based on that you can proceed with the objective of this design problem. So before you start solving this, it's important to create a goal statement or an objective which should be aligned with the interviewer, so that you and the interviewer should be aligned with the goal or the objective of this design problem. So for example, I can create a goal could be like to design an automation system which can identify the infra issues or the failures in advance, and it can report the administrator or the server management team in advance so that they can take timely action based on that. And at the same time, this system can also tell me what is the reason, what are the factors which is leading to this incident problem. The business impact of this goal could be that this would be more efficient and give our customers a reliable and a user-friendly experience with a minimal impact to our business operation. So do check this goal statement or objective with the interviewer. Once you guys are aligned, then you start moving ahead with the next step. Now, once we have defined the goal and the problem, it's very important to think in terms of hypothesis. So hypothesis is a very important, because hypothesis will give you some kind of direction to your approach and what are the data sources you want to select, because that is very important. Just imagine before seeing the data, that why could be a reason why we are seeing so many network issues or infrastructure issues. What could be the reason behind it? It might be that there is a lag between different infrastructure systems which is leading to failure in some system. It might happen that there could be a seasonality issue, that server is not able to handle that traffic due to some special events, maybe some Christmas events or maybe some Thanksgiving event or some special discount day or a big $1 billion day or some kind of an event where servers are not able to handle the traffic. It can happen that this problem is happening only in certain geography, or it might happen that these network issues are coming because of there is a breakdown due to high number of concurrent users. So it's very important to list down all those hypotheses, because this will start giving you some direction to your approach, as well as what are the data sources we need to select. So once you communicate your hypothesis to interviewer, the next step is we need to define what are the data sources we are planning to take. I can say that, hey, I'm planning to take the data which can provide me some kind of a log details, such as about the infrastructure. What are the incident issues we have faced? If certain incident has been down for how long, on what geography it has been breakdown, who has reported, how many users have reported, on which time or day or month the system was down, what was the name of the incident. I need all those details in my data set. You can take more details as well, but for an example, this could be a good starting point for my data source. Now, once we define the data source, the next step is we will start defining some of our machine learning steps. The first step would be a feature engineering step. Now, this step is very important because you need to communicate to the interviewer what are the features you are planning to take for your machine learning models. What would be your independent features, what would be your dependent features, and at the same time you need to tell that in the training data, each row defined what is every row is aggregated at some incident level or some user reported level, or this every row is telling about some details about individual day. You need to give some kind of a picture or overview of your data set. For example, I can say for this problem I am taking some of the independent features as downtime, incident name, geography, users reported, failure name, time, month, and so on. And each row will be uniquely identified as incident ID, and there will be details. So I can say that hey, incident ID 1 was broke down on 22nd of January at 9 a.m. reported by employee ID 1, and the issue was that network site crashed. So this would be my independent features. Similarly, we need to define what would be my dependent variable. So I am treating this problem statement as a classification problem where my target class would be failure and normal. So I have two classes, failure and normal. Failure means system will break down, and normal means that it will work as expected. At the same time, my output will provide me the probability of failure. So I can say that hey, there is a 90% chance the system will break down in the afternoon for server number 3, so that admin team or a server team can take like a timely action, and in advance they can report to the reported team so that they can plan accordingly. So once we have defined the feature engineering like independent variable, dependent variable, the next step we will plan out how much historical data we need to take. So I can say that hey, I need 12 to 18 months of historical data, and then I split the data into 70 and 30, where 70% of my data is a training data and 30% of the data I will take as a validation data to validate my model performance, the hyperparameters, and so on. So once we have defined the training data, the next step is which model you are planning to take. So let's say I'm planning to take XGBoost or a decision tree, but you need to tell what is the reason behind of taking XGBoost or a decision tree. You need to tell clearly to an interviewer that what is my logic behind taking XGBoost. You can say that I like XGBoost because it can tell me feature importance, feature ranking. At the same time, it's very handy in handling the cardinality of some of the variables, the missing values, or some kind of a feature transformation or standardizing some features. So that is very handy. I can mention that in my recent success, I have seen that XGBoost had done a tremendous job. So my first intuition always is to take XGBoost, and at the same time you can also provide some technical benefits of XGBoost as well. So whatever model you are planning to take, it's important you provide some justification that why you chose that particular model. Now once we have defined the model, the next step is how would you evaluate the performance of your model. So I can say that I will evaluate my model on the validation data using some of the metrics like precision, recall, F measure, cross validation, and so on. So in that way I will see how the model is performing. And at the same time you need to provide some kind of a benchmark results. In what metrics or in what numbers you will say that this model is doing a really good job. We can take up this model for, let's say, production. So I can say that hey, we have defined some of the business metrics that our failure rate should be less than 5%. So if the model is able to reduce this 5% failure, then this model is good. It has improved. Or this model should show me all the reasons as well, or the justification as well, why this particular server is going to fail, or it should tell me in advance, or it should tell me that the accuracy should be less than 3% error, or so on. So you need to tell some kind of benchmark metrics as well. Now once, let's say, we have tested the model on the validation data and it has met some of the business metrics, and you feel very confident, your product team or your manager or your senior leadership has given a green signal to the model, the next step is what is your plan to execute or implement this model in the production environment. How would you deploy this model in the production? So I can say that, hey, I will deploy this model in the production through A/B testing. So A/B testing means that I can say that 80% of the population I will still continue evaluate through old model, and 20% of the population I will evaluate through new model. And then I will run this experiment for next 3 to 4 weeks and see how the model is behaving, how this new model is behaving. Does this model is scaling well on the production? Does it able to reduce the failure rate by 2% or 1%? Does it able to meet the business expectations? Once all the metrics has been satisfied and the senior leadership are further confident about the A/B testing results, then after that we will deploy into the production and for 100% of the population. So we will run for whole population then at that point going forward. And the business strategy. So how this model output will look like how this model will look like to the business team. So I can say that this model will tell us like the probability of failure for each of the infra in advance for each day. So for example, in the advance, maybe 3 hours before or 4 hours before, it will tell us that, hey, there is a 80% chance this server 2 will get failed. Hey, there is a 99% chance that this network will crash because of the possibility of huge amount of traffic coming in the next couple of hours. So this will help the admin of the production team knows in advance and then take the action in a timely manner. So the last point you can also add in your presentation would be that, what are the challenges you see in this whole approach. So you can say, hey, one of the challenge could be that since this model we are planning to run for the whole organization, it's important to take the alignment or the green signal from all the teams. At the same time, since this is a very critical project, so we need resources, we need the bandwidth of people, and for that we need a funding as well as the bandwidth from different senior leadership as well as from concerned employees. So that this thing can impact the timelines. So that we need to be concerned. This need to be taken care when we are presenting to our all our executives and the decision makers. So you can see how I have framed all this problem design statement. There's no right or wrong answer, but it's very important to structure your design problem in this way where you're communicating each and every step very clearly. Again, let me reiterate some of the critical steps. It's very important to ask clarifying questions because that will help in getting more details about the problem. Secondly, goal is very important so that you and the interviewer from beginning itself are on the same page and you both knows what we are planning to achieve and what we are planning to solve in next 30 minutes to 40 minutes of your presentation. Then the data sources are very key. So it's very important that you clearly explain what are the data sources you're planning to take and why you choosing this particular data sets. The another key thing is to define your independent features, dependent features, and what is the target variable in it, how the output will look like, and your training data, how each row means, like each row basically uniquely identified as incident ID or employee ID, or they're aggregated at individual day level or incident level. You need to give a good solid visualization or a picture to a interviewer. Then obviously you need to clearly mention what are the metrics you're planning to take to validate your model, what would be your implementation strategy, and lastly it's important to raise out some of the concerns or the challenges you see in this approach. In that way it will give a very good end-to-end picture or a visualization to an interviewer. The another thing which I mentioned in the previous video as well, if you get a chance to have like a drawing board or a whiteboard or any kind of a notepad or a text pad, I would suggest you should also create a flow chart or write down in the text pad so that sometimes it's easy to see through flow charts or through writing rather than explaining each and every step through verbally. So that is my that would be my suggestion, that how you can structure your problem. But again, there is no right or wrong answers. You are free and welcome to add any details which you like, but it's very important that you structure your problem statement or a design in end to in end from beginning to end in a certain structured way. Thank you.